Welcome back to the show. Each and every year, Food Banks Canada does a report, and of course, each community across Canada does their own reports, including right here in Ottawa. And to talk about some of the latest findings, both nationally and here in Ottawa, I am joined by Alex Noreau. She is the interim communications manager at the Ottawa Food Bank. Welcome, Alex.
Hi,
great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start off with that report. You and I were talking before the show, and this is a nationwide report that we're going to start with, but there's a lot of correlations between that and what's happening in this community, right?
That's right. So the key findings from the Food Banks Canada HungerCount report revealed that from 1.5 million visits to food banks were observed across the country. So that's coast to coast what's been observed, which represents about 35% of an increase compared to pre-pandemic numbers. Locally, we are observing things that quite the same way. In Ottawa, just March of this year compared to pre-pandemic numbers, we saw an increase of about 40%.
I mean, the numbers are staggering. When you look at a city like Ottawa, and you and I talked about this and said, you don't want to be in business as a food bank, right?
Of course not. No.
And there's that notion of, how is this helping? We're not really doing anything to help the causes. But food banks are a necessity until it's a leg up. I mean, that was the real reason behind food banks. Let's expand on those numbers just a little bit, Alex. And what about visits? I guess you're seeing more visits. Are you seeing the same people? What circumstances are you finding people in now?
So anecdotally, we are hearing from our network of community food banks and emergency food banks across Ottawa that it's not just who you think is accessing food banks anymore. We are seeing a lot of working class individuals, people who report that they have employment as their one source of income, coming to food banks, and the frequency of that is also changing. So we have reported that month over month we're seeing around 52,000 individuals, and that number seems to be increasing month over month by 10%. So the landscape of it is changing. People are accessing food banks, and actually 1/3 of our clients are children who are accessing food supports.
And it's more than just food support. Let's expand on that a little bit, because the Ottawa Food Bank sort of this umbrella, and underneath it, you service a lot of different programs. Let's talk about some of the other services through those programs.
Yeah, so there are a number of wraparound support services that are available to anyone who accesses a food bank in Ottawa. The first step is, of course, to locate your community food bank, and you can do that by visiting our website or giving us a call. But there's a number of supports. There's mental health supports available. There are job search supports available, and it really does continue on.
Volunteer opportunity. I'm just looking at some of the wonderful volunteers here on my screen.
Yeah.
Volunteer opportunities, have they opened up? Are you still looking for volunteers to help out?
We do have an incredibly strong volunteer base. We are always looking for volunteers, but we are back to in person. So this whole summer season, the harvesting season, we were working on our community harvest farm with volunteers to help us grow and harvest fresh fruits and vegetables for distribution to our network. And we have a really solid group of volunteers who help us with our food sorting and everything like that. So it's been really awesome to see the return into the warehouse, to have everyone engaged again. And
and you mentioned that word warehouse.
Yes.
You're relocating to a new warehouse. Of course, that costs money as well, right? Part of the funding drive that you continue to do is for that. So let's talk about the reason for that move. Why the relocation?
Yeah, so we're relocating the Ottawa Food Bank's main central warehouse location to Bantry. So it's actually just a couple of blocks away from where we currently exist, but we're moving to meet this increased need that we're observing across the country, but also in Ottawa. We will be increasing our cold storage capacity for accepting fresh fruits, vegetables, frozen proteins by about 300%. So we're retrofitting this center to really suit the needs and the upcoming need of our communities that are accessing food banks.
So Alex, I'm guessing there's a change, because I think there's the myth of when it comes to food banks is that canned goods and non-perishable and all those things are wonderful, and you still require those things. But I guess over the years you've decided families need better nutrition, and that's where the farm comes in, and I guess some of these other products that you're now offering. Right?
Absolutely. We ensure that about over 40% of the food that we collect and distribute is fresh. So having fresh produce, fresh vegetables come from our farm, it's a focus on the sustainability of how we are obtaining that inventory, but it's also, it allows us to really make sure that we're meeting those needs of our community food banks and the clients accessing those supports.
What about individuals? Like, we talked about volunteering, but how individuals can help, because we always look to governments and what roles the governments can play, and we know they can play a bigger role, but what roles can we take as individuals to play a bigger role in helping Food Bank?
Well, donations of food, funds, and time are always in critical need. It's thanks to the support of our supporters that we are able to do what we do. Pre-pandemic, we were spending $2 million on food alone, and this year we're on track to spend $6 million. So wow. Our costs have tripled, and it's that support from our community and from the people who, engage in food drives, fund drives for the Ottawa Food Bank, but also volunteer their time that really benefits us. So I would encourage everyone to visit ottawafoodbank.ca to learn more about how you can support us and how we advocate for sustainable change at all different levels. But I would also encourage people to read the policy recommendations from the HungerCount report by Food Banks Canada.
And that's available on the website as well?
Yeah.
Monetary donations go a long way, and I always like to bring this up because you do have some wonderful partnerships. Just explain, I know $1, that somebody gives, but it goes a lot longer, right? A lot further than an actual food donation, doesn't it?
That's right. Funds are always the priority of the spend for us, but it's also because of our buying power, like you said. So we have every dollar that we receive, we can turn into about $5 of donated food, and that's thanks to our lovely partnerships with food industry partners. So
when do you hope to move into the new warehouse?
Early in the new year.
Okay, so still a ways away, and that campaign to help with that move continues on.
That's right. Yep.
Excellent. Alex, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
really
you for
do
having
appreciate
me.
it. And as Alex said, want to encourage everybody at home. I know that we do this as a team. We go and help volunteers. So if you have time, and of course, even more importantly, if you have money, please donate to the Ottawa Food Bank. We'll be back with more right after this.